Hey everyone, Daniel Ramsey from MyOutDesk. Normally I'm all pumped up, energy, like let's go scale business and double, but today's conversation is completely different. As you know, we're going through this crazy, what I like to call a bio recession, a bio scenario, and today's webinar is about surviving and thriving. I'm lucky because Bob Corcoran's here, and so he and I have been working on some content for this presentation. If you're here live in Facebook or on the Zoom call, please put live plus your city, and know that we're going to have questions and we're going to be going through some stuff. I've got a slide deck. If you're driving around, please don't watch the slide deck because I don't want you to die. But it's there because there's a lot of really good content that we're going to go over. So that's what we're going to be talking about right now, is that content. We're also going to give you guys guides to, and here I am, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to give you guys guides to give to your clients. So one of the big questions that we have is, my ISA is calling people, but I don't know what they're saying, and we're having people get angry and mad. So we're going to give you some things to give away to your clients. We're going to give you some scripts. We're going to talk about what you should be doing right now. We're going to talk about cutting fat. This is for our clients. We're going to give you some virtual selling stuff, and I'm saying all kinds of things fast because there's just a ton of value in this webinar for you guys, and I want to appreciate you and thank you for coming. We've got somebody monitoring questions, so if you have any questions, please ask them. I'm not going to look at the screen, but I'm going to get a text, and then we're going to go through them. I'm going to ask them live. Bob, I don't know, is there anything before we start that you'd want to add?
No, it's going to be a grossly different webinar for me. I'm like you. It's all about high energy. Let's get her done. Let's double down. This is different. This is different. This is life-changing. You know, just dealing with this so much, and it's unlike anything else we've ever seen before. You know, we've all been through a lot of crises, Daniel, with the .com, 9/11, the housing crash. This is grossly different. Yep. You know, I'm sure you heard the latest news, you know, about the borders being closed. Canada and Mexico and U.S. borders are locked down. Just heard from another client, their state's going on lockdown. I know you're up there in California, and it's evolving by the hour.
That's right.
And that's why doing these, these service webinars like this is really helping and answering a lot of questions for people.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
It's tough.
That's right. Okay. So why are you here and what will you get? First of all, the Dow Jones is dropping overnight. We've had 50% of our population have to start working remote. Now, prior to the last week, we had about 3 or 4% of our entire population that was remote, which isn't a huge amount. Like right now, 50% of the US is working remote, which is wildly. So want to make sure you guys have the tools for that. Also, we're going to be talking about taking advantage of the real estate market. I see Renee Butler's on here. Hey, Renee. There's just a lot that we're going to go over. We've also got some free gifts for you guys, a local guide. Believe it or not, people have never had to be in their homes more than ever right now. And so we've got a gift to give to you and your other agents on your team or other employees in your business, because you need to call people and give them something of value. And right now, the normal scripts of, hey, I want to do business with you, or let's do stuff, they just don't work. So we're also going to talk about the CEO mindset. That's one of my favorite things, something we're going to really spend a lot of time on, talking about what do you do right now for your people, for your clients, for your vendors, for your employees. We'll get you a copy of our book. Wildly enough, I wrote this book with 3% of the population going virtual, now 50%. So this is the most relevant piece of content that we have today. And then we're going to talk about disaster loans, B of A, forbearance on loans or pausing of loans, and guides to survive. That's everything we're going to go over. Bob, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, a lot of it is just being in communication with your clients at this time, and the world of how we knew real estate and what we said to clients has got to stop right now. We got to change our attitude about it, and we'll get into that in a little bit, Daniel.
Yep. Okay, good. So let's start. The first slide is just, what is the CEO mindset right now? Hey, it looks like, Bob, your camera is not working and mine is frozen. I don't know why. Let's just try to stop the share real quick. The CEO mindset leadership. Bob, I want to talk about that. I'm going to go back to sharing screens now. I want to make sure that that this isn't ever present, because you and I both have had lots of calls over the last 5 days with our clients. What's the strategy here?
Number one, I think empathy is it. I think all great leaders, it's also about transparency. The way we've sold real estate, when we have our ISAs, our agents are calling people, we're there to sell houses. Take all your sales scripts off of the table right now. For past clients, we always use the Ford script. Ford stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Well, the calls you should be making is focusing on family and occupation. How is your family doing? I also say, please don't mention the virus. Let your clients bring it up, because we don't want to create fear where fear may not exist. Yep. So just you're calling in, hey, this is Bob at ABC Real Estate. I just want to check in on you and your family. How are they doing? Next question, how has this affected your job or your husband's job? And let them talk. What you're going to find, I've been telling my clients that right now it's like the day after Thanksgiving, that Friday when everybody's home and no one's working. The only difference, they're all in the mall. Now they're all home. I've heard clients already saying, Daniel, man, I used to be able to talk to 5 people in an hour. Now I can't even get 2 conversations in because people just want to talk. So they're going to be there. So be out there for your people. Service your people. Be very focused on your teams also, because then we'll get into the team piece and how do you stay connected like that. But right now, empathy is the order of business. Take those sales scripts off. If you have ISAs calling people, you want to do a deep dive into your database, and they simply need to call and check in on people. If they want to talk real estate, trust me, they'll bring it up, but let them bring it up, because you don't want to get people upset with you right now. And there's no fear selling here, that's for sure.
Yep. Okay. And I want to make sure that we focus. Many of us have many employees. In our case, we have about 70 virtual professionals and about 20 US people. Really important as a leader, you're in daily conversations with everyone. Now, if you can't do that, that means you're using Zoom. That means you're making sure you're on chat. I am literally checking in with our team on a daily basis and saying, hey, who's going on? Our other leaders need to be doing the same thing. Everybody on our team needs to be having conversations and just saying, are you okay? Do you have anything going on right now? This is probably the biggest thing that you can do as a leader. Let's go to the next slide here. And remember, everybody's situation is different. So don't assume. Ask them, how are you doing? How is working at home? What's it like with your kids? What's going on with your job? And that goes internally for your team. This is a time of we're calling this a time of pause. So spend some time loving on your people, because as we get through this, you need your muscle in your business to stay on your team when everybody else is left. Everyone else is going to leave. Okay. Next slide is my favorite. Let's talk about what you say on a call. I have a good friend of mine who is in the asphalt business, and he and I were talking this morning, and he's like, I don't know what to say to my people, but I want to call my employees and I want to call my clients. And so I think this is the best thing you came up with, Bob, in the conversation we had a couple days ago. What is the ideal ISA scripts right now that people should be implementing if you're calling clients or past clients?
I'm an ISA, and I say, hey, this is Bob with Daniel Ramsey's team at ABC Real Estate. Daniel asked me to give you a call. I think when it comes to, I would have that same script if you have buyer agents, listing partners. Use the Rainmaker's name. Most Rainmakers, you spend a lot of money getting your name out there. People have heard of you, and people also realize that you're inundated with phone calls as a Rainmaker. So please get everybody in your team using your name. This becomes important because this will pass eventually. Now imagine your entire team is out there using the Rainmaker's name. Bob asked me to give you a call. People are going to appreciate this, and this business will come back to you because of the care and concern you are showing immediately and people are going to appreciate that. But you've got to be sensitive, and you've got to be so present in the call. If people want to talk, please just let them talk. Trust me, you might as well all just put your therapist hat on, because that's what you're going to be. You know, as Daniel said earlier, 50% of the U.S. is working remotely. Most people do not know how to effectively work remotely. I've been coaching other industries, guys, since last Wednesday, where they're saying we're going on lockdown. My people are working remotely. Well, let's talk a minute, Daniel. Let's talk about these teams out there. Okay, what I recommend to every single one of my clients, you know, most salespeople, they're used to working remotely already. They come and they go already, okay? Yeah. But I'm more concerned about my operations team, because these people love you, okay? So how do you get to show that love? My recommendation for all of my clients was to do 3 Zoom calls a day with your operations team. You do one first thing in the morning, and the why 3? Because I want to break the day in 2 halves. Also, I want you to be seen by your team members to show that you are there doing everything you can to keep things moving along. So we do one, if everybody's working 9 to 6, then I do a Zoom call at 9 to talk about the work that needs to get done in the morning. People go on lunch, then we do the next Zoom call at 1 o'clock. Right after lunch is your next Zoom call. Did we get what we needed done this morning? What do we have going on this afternoon? Okay, you're going to see a lot less because, you know, as we said earlier, this is changing by the hour. You know, we have some areas total lockdown. Realtors can't even get out and show property. So there's no showing properties for 3 weeks. So your businesses are virtually shut down. So we can choose to be one of 3 people, Daniel. Daniel taught me this the other day. He goes, look, we can be Chicken Little and the sky is falling. We can be an ostrich, stick your head in the sand. Or we can agree to outwork the competition. When I look at all the other crises that we've been through, my attitude has always been to outwork our competition. This is grossly different, though, because we have to show care and concern. But that's why how we're going to outwork our competition is by showing that care and concern. And if you please, I just implore you on these Zoom calls with your ops people, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Don't go, when you get on that 9 a.m. Zoom call, don't go right into business. Check with them. How are they doing? How is their family doing? Show care and concern for your support staff. So then at 1 o'clock, you plan the afternoon, and then if they're working till 6, you get on again at 5. Hey, how do we do today? Do a little Zoom celebration. I don't care. Do a Zoom fest. You know, do something. You can make it fun, keep it light, but show that you care about your operations team. Remember, you want these people for the future. And so when you show that care and concern, it's really going to mean a lot to your team.
I think you're absolutely right. The other thing that I wanted to make sure we're talking about, Bob, is like when you're calling and say, hey, you know, Bob asked me to give you a call. He wanted us to check in on you, check on your family, on what you're doing at work. The other thing is we want to make sure that you have some piece of value to add. So we busted this out crazy fast. If you're looking on the screen right now, you might be able to see this. Sacramento, which is where I am, we've been on lockdown since last night at 11:59. My family has been in the same house for 7 days straight. It's been crazy. And so what we did is we built a template for you for a item of value to give to your clients. And this is a template that you guys can take and customize for your own area, for your own needs. And again, we just wanted to make sure that everybody out there had some reason to call, check in, care and concern, but also a thing of value. So if you look at this local guide, there are things like what supermarkets are open, are the public, you know, parks open? Can I go to the park with my kid? Am I allowed to go on the walk by the river? You know, what gas stations are open? If I needed some medicine, who is delivering in my area? I'll give you an example. We wanted some meat. And so my wife, guess what? Safeway's not delivering and Amazon's not delivering, but Instacart in our area is. So she today ordered a bunch of food on Instacart because it was time to get more food. So that local guide is there. My thought is that you can take your ISAs and your virtual assistants and your operations team, and you guys can start adding value to that guide for your local area so that you have something of value on top of the showing care and concern. Bob, what do you got on this?
I think this is huge. You know, the thing is, it's going to change so rapidly. So you might, you know, you can Google it. I work virtually, and I've worked virtually for a number of years. And so I asked my wife, what's going on out in our city? Because I don't know. I haven't been out all week. Yeah, okay. And so then I just went to Google and I said, what restrictions are in Miramar Beach, Florida? And it gave me the whole thing. And I think if you're giving the people here the template, you can get your ISA, your virtual professionals, Daniel, to go on, just Google the restrictions in your area, put together this guide for you, and then save it as a PDF and get it to all your clients right now. And then I would also recommend, because here we're Friday, I would recommend have your VP, your virtual professional, do it again on Tuesday, because what's going to change over the weekend, right? And so you just want to let your consumers know that we will be updating this 2 or 3 times a week. Okay, and get it out. The people are going to grossly appreciate this, and you will get that business back. I think, in my professional opinion, I think this is delaying the sales. We'll get the sales. They're still going to happen. I think it's just going to push it more into the third quarter. So we're going to looking for, obviously, a very soft, most likely second quarter. Okay, but I believe we will make this business up in the third quarter. So if you show the care and concern now by offering things like the local guide template and some of the other things we have in this webinar for you today, people are really going to sing your praises because you showed care and concern. So I urge you, get this stuff done ASAP. Now, some of you, you're going to have to work on the weekend, to get a lot of this done. That's like, Daniel and I, we've been working well into the night, just, taking care of a lot of clients' needs right now. And we're professionals at this, okay? But we've got to get out there, folks, and show care and concern to the people. And when you do that, you will definitely get that business back.
Yep. And I like the idea too. And just to be clear, if your team is still available to, if you talk to somebody and they need groceries or they need dispensaries for medical supplies or anything, my world would be have this guide ready for your agents, for your salespeople, for your ops people, so they can speak intelligently and actually add value to the team. The next thing that I want to talk about is, and this is really, really, really important, this is strategies for selling. And I know this is wild, but I was just talking to a client yesterday. She's in Texas, and I asked her, I said, hey, how many of your listing, because she's a large listing broker, I said, how many of your listings do you already have virtual tours on? And she goes, Daniel, a very small percentage. And the virtual tour companies are locked up right now, meaning I can't schedule anything with Matterport. I can't get an appraiser into a house. And then I'm hearing in other parts of like New Jersey where their county recorder is stopped. They're not open anymore because they have a physical go into the county and stamp something in order to get something recorded. So I wanted to do this strategies for selling now. Bob, you said something, and I really like this. You're not letting anyone cancel listings. And I think this is part of this section. So go ahead and let's talk about this.
Well, the thing is, okay, everybody's in the same situation in your market, okay? When your state and your area goes down in lockdown, you can only leave your house for essential trips only, like to the hospital, grocery store. Some area, the police are ticketing people. If everybody just does their part, we can curb this, and it won't get as bad if everybody just does their part. But at the end of the day, nobody can show homes in some areas right now. People don't need to cancel. They simply, if we need to temporarily take it off the market, do that. Temporarily take it off the market, but don't let people cancel. But I think in selling now, you also got to think, what are the most frequently asked questions that sellers have? How is this going to affect the sale of my house? How is this going to affect the price of my house? How is this going to change the timeline that you talked to me when you listed the property? The true answer is nobody knows. But so you got to talk the voice of reason. But that's why I said earlier, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Understand where your people are coming from when you're talking to them. Then you can help them understand the situation as it is to the sale of their house. But people don't cancel. We can go temporarily off the market, but if nobody can get out and show homes, all homes are temporarily off the market anyway, Daniel.
Yeah. Hey, it looks like we have a question. How do we manage how busy work we do versus the time off, since we might be infected and sick soon or worse? A balance here. I'm working all week and I'm starting to wonder if this is how this is the last days on the planet. Oh man. Well, there's a couple of things. One, I love your perspective of working a lot. Part of this conversation is the mindset of a CEO and what it takes. I'm going to give you just a personal perspective. Back in 2007, when the 2007 crisis hit, there was about a 9-month period where I worked 7 days a week. And, I was 12, 14-hour days. I even worked I limited my Sundays to 4 hours, if you can believe it. And that's the reality of when you're going through a shift. And I was living closing to closing. There was one time in April of 2008 that had I not closed a transaction, I may not have been able to pay my mortgage at that time. So I don't know if we're there yet, but I do know there are two people in this. There are those that are going to survive and thrive and take market share. And then there are those that are going to find what I call real jobs and jump out off the real estate and really off the entrepreneur, ship. And so that's what would you say to her question, Bob?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think it's keep our attitude high, okay? Control your emotions. And I think more importantly, for everybody, you are a leader, whether you want to be one or not. You are destined to always be a leader. If you're a mother, you might be a leader of your children, a father, leader of your household. So you just got to put that leadership mentality on right now. You take care of yourself. You take care of your family first. You take care of your clients, but do it judiciously. Okay, like Daniel said, 14, 15-hour days. It's whatever it takes to help you make it through this. But put a majority of the focus family first, team second, clients third. That should be the order of business there. And I think that if you have somebody, and at this time, like I said, people aren't used to working remotely. My biggest concern, Daniel, are the high I personalities who need to see, touch, and feel people to have energy.
That's
okay?
Right.
And the only energy you're going to get, folks, is by hugging on your kids, okay? And what a great energy to have to hug on your family. But I love what you said also, Daniel. Be aware of your neighbors that are elderly or those that maybe have, poor immune systems. Reach out to them. We had a couple people reach out to us just to see if we needed anything from the grocery store. Very thoughtful.
Yep. I love it. Hey, so the virtual selling stuff, I want to make sure you guys have these tools. FaceTime, Skype, Zoom. I can't tell you, my entire life is on these 3 platforms right now. The other thing is 3D tours, detailed product service information. You might have to adjust how you're selling things. I mean, we have a couple insurance brokers who are completely changing how they're selling stuff and completely changing because you can't build trust anymore. You have to, the way you build trust is through a video conference. You can't go and shake somebody's hand and be in their office. And so you might want to just change some of your stuff, like online task and process management. If you were working in paper before, and if you took notes and that was your gig, you got to get away from that like right now. And so I'd encourage you guys to look for technology to start allowing your business to continue to sell and allowing you to continue to go down the road. If you're old school and you only talked to people on cell phones and did face-to-face, now is time to invest in the virtual world by getting platforms like Zoom and others to jump on.
Yeah, you know, Daniel, I believe, in my opinion, this is going to change the way business is done forever. You know, for a number of years, I've had, I've taught clients how to do a listing presentation on Zoom. And you had brought up virtual tours. It makes us now go look at our business and reevaluate our business, because we never know when things like this are going to happen. Wouldn't it be great if we had virtual tours done on all of our properties,
Yeah.
where you can go on Zoom or something, you can share your screen. This is why I like Zoom, to be ability to share my screen, and I can do a virtual tour. I can be talking to a client right here, right now.
Yep.
So it's also a time to reevaluate your business and what you need to do. I've been recommending some areas where they're not down on lockdown, Daniel. I've actually been recommending my clients do a virtual half day in preparation for it, so that you can find out what holes you have. You know, we've been talking about being paperless for years now. Well, if we were all paperless, this would be a lot easier. With the technology available today, okay, we really need to be paperless, but really look at, how you're running your business and take notes of what parts of your business do you need, okay, to fix right now. So if your area is not on lockdown, I strongly recommend you do a virtual half day, incorporating the 3 Zoom operations huddles a day, just so you can see any bugs you may have in your system, so you can get them fixed in case there is a lockdown.
Well, and I love what you said, because we did 2 virtual days a week ago, and actually before California went on lockdown, we had one this week. And we learned a lot in that. We learned there were some people that needed dual monitors. There were some people that needed different headsets. Some people needed to upgrade their internet at home. And so we were just pulsing our people and saying, hey, how's it going? What's up? Where are you at? The other thing, if you're in a part of the country that is not in lockdown, like Florida, you're still at the beach, I would hurry.
I won't turn my screen to show you my view right now, and I'm pretty good spot for lockdown, Daniel.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of folks across the country that are not in that scenario.
Yeah.
Like, I have a friend who's in Chicago, and I love this guy. I called him because he owns a trucking company. And I said, hey, I want to know what's going on with your shipping rates, and are you busy? Because I wanted to know if our food delivery was really, you're here on the media and all the folks in government saying, don't rush the stores, don't go to the restaurants and take all the food or all that. And I really wanted, I called a guy that has 600 trucks, and I said, are you still busy? Are you still out there shipping? And he's like, we've got business, we're full, and we're hiring 20 new drivers a week. So
wow.
The trucking world is still shipping. And then I started asking him questions. I'm like, so how are you onboarding these 20 new people? Are they coming to the office? And he's like, yeah, and they're coming to the office, they're signing documents, they're picking up keys, and they're just doing a lot of stuff. And I'm like, holy moly, like you need to get some protocols in place at your business, because at some point you're going to be shut down. And so the next slide is just real quick, what I believe is a minimum for those who haven't gone through this and are still continuing to stay open. Some personal history. It's not crazy to ask somebody before you miss, hey, anybody in your household sick or quarantined? Have you been traveling to any of the affected areas? We used to say affected areas were like China and Italy, but now it's like Washington and California and parts of Boston and New York. Like, so the question is, where have you traveled before? And then, have you had any recent COVID-19 exposure? The other thing, these are just protocols that you can put in place for your clients, for your employees, so that they're not in a space where we're continuing to spread this stuff. Anyways, these are just community service announcements for those that own businesses and are still going to the office. The other thing, wear gloves, get the N95 respiratory mask. We ordered a whole bunch of those about 3 weeks ago. Washing your hands, maintaining 6 foot. Wildly enough, these protocols are still not in place for the majority of the country. And you guys are still meeting, and I just want to make sure everybody's clear about that. What would you add here, Bob?
Yeah, I think to me, common sense is the order of the day.
Right.
Okay, but like I said earlier, if everybody takes their own personal responsibility and self-quarantine, make sacrifices. I mean, what a great time to also do family bonding as well. We can look at this as, oh my gosh, I have to be here with my kids all day. Well, God gave those kids to you to love on them. Now is an opportune time because they don't know what's going on. So you don't want to inject that fear into your children either. So to me, I think just common sense protocol is what really needs to happen, and make it a time, make it huge family time. We don't know how long we're going to be in our houses. So you might as well make the best of it anyway. Trust me, your kids will appreciate it, and they're going to remember this for the rest of their life if you make it fun.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so for our business owner clients out there, wanted to make sure everybody was aware. They just put out that Treasury and IRS just announced extensions, and they've actually put out guidelines for those extensions. So if you're an individual, you can extend your tax deadline until July 15th. That's really good news. It's also kind of good for C Corps. Unfortunately, if you're like me, I've already paid my taxes for last year, so that's not great. But there is a lot going on. There's also last night, and we just put the link in there where you can actually check out a little bit more about the taxpayer relief stuff. There is some laws getting enacted in each state right now and at the federal level. I'll give you an example. There's some additional, challenges for owner entrepreneurs, CEOs right now when it comes to if somebody gets sick, you're required to give them a certain amount of paid time off. And there's some crazy stuff going on at the federal and state level. So I would just really stay focused on being in the know of what's being passed quickly. The other thing is there's some disaster loans happening. This is the craziest thing ever. We were asking, I was on a call yesterday with a loan guy. He basically lends out to commercial world. The federal disaster loans out there are silly. It's $25,000 at like 3 or 4%, depending on which part of the country you're in. And they're 30 to 25 year loans. So these are long-term disaster recovery loans. Right now, I think Alabama and Kentucky are processing applications. But what we need right now is the federal government to say there's a disaster. And then the whole country is opened up to these SBA loans. Cheap money to help businesses through. If you haven't already gone, the link's in the notes. You should go check that out and see if you're eligible. I think it's a really big deal. And it's a free capital. All right, Bob, this is what you were talking about, remote working guide. Let's talk through this.
Well, in here, the remote working guide, number one, like we say, a lot of the people even on the call here, if you're agents, what working remote, really is all about. More your operations people, but more importantly, I think for your clients out there, the shelter in place guide is phenomenal. And I love what Daniel has done. He's given it to us in an editable format. So you can go ahead. He's encouraged you to put your logo on this shelter in place guide. Put your logo, put your contact. It's an editable format. You can add things, you can change things, but get it, save it as a PDF, and get it to your entire database, because now it's filled with great common sense tips about how to work effectively in a remote world. Most people do not know how to work in a remote world. Like I said, the D and C personalities are pretty good at it. I'm more concerned about the I's, because in the DISC profile system, the I, the natural born salesperson, they got to see, touch, and feel people to feel energy. So how do I keep that high I, highly motivated day in and day out? I want to go back to a comment Elisa made. Where do you find the balance between, working and time off? Elisa, it is no different than if you went to work. If you normally, Elisa, work 9 to 6, then that's your work day at home, 9 to 6, then shut it down and be with your family. Okay, we don't know what's going to happen to our loved ones. Yes, we may get sick. We may know somebody that's sick. But if you're in quarantine, you can't get out of the house anyway. And all we can do with people that are sick is keep them in our prayers. So, but this shelter in place, I've already started, and I appreciate Daniel got this to me late last night. I've already had my virtual professional, John, working on putting my clients' logos on it and sending it off to them because I want this in your consumers' hands this weekend.
Yeah.
And that's why we're going to work. I already told John, I said, John, sorry for the late notice, because I just told him this at 3 o'clock. I'm Central Time. I said, John, we got to get this done before the end of the day. And John's supposed to get off at 5. Well, not today, boy.
Yep.
We just got to do what it takes.
Well, Jennifer asked a question. What's the difference between a federal emergency and a federal disaster? The only trigger is if they declare a national and a federal disaster, is that there are different Congress has passed laws for money to flow into, the SBA loan, FEMA, the VA. For instance, if the federal government, the VA is right now, and I don't know if you guys saw that, the head of the Veteran Affairs, he said, hey, look, we are here as a second tier healthcare backstop, and we've been preparing for the last 8 weeks. So they have the masks, they have the ventilators, they have the space. In order for that particular part of our government to actually function, like the federal government has to declare that there's an emergency and a disaster. So it's just levels to trigger funding down. And I think I wanted to answer that question so there was clarity there. The higher they ratchet things up, the more opportunities will open up. The other thing, this shelter in place guide, I just want to be clear about what it is. The link, we just gave it to you guys. It's a remote work aid. It's 100% meant for your audience, meaning it's our 13 years of experience, thousands of remote people, and we've distilled it into like 13, 14 pages of like, here's all the tools, here's all the practices, here's what you need in terms of systems, here's some of the acronyms for just Skyping and chatting and messaging, here's how we have a VoIP system set up, here's what we're doing with mail. By the way, we still have mail coming to our office. It's freaking crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So what are you gonna do about mail? So all of those things are there. Like Bob said, you guys, in the Chinese word, the thing about crisis, it's danger plus opportunity together. And I personally think if you create a guide of what's going on in your local area, if you have this shelter in place guide branded for your team, and you're calling your clients or vendors, your employees, and you're showing the care and concern, I think, again, your brand is going to be positively affected long term, and you're not going to struggle like your competition might.
And I think that's huge. And I think all these tips, if we just look at, the thing of what's happening locally, the sheltering guide, throw in, for your operations team, your 3 huddles. These are all very simple things to do. But like you said, your competition will not be doing it. Yun from chief economist for NAR was projecting a 10% decline in sales. Okay. We don't know, where does he get his numbers from? Hey, he's chief economist. He better, I'll trust him. But at the end of the day, okay, I like it where you say in Chinese, the word crisis means danger plus opportunity. And that's what we have here. And yes, the danger is there because we're talking about people's health. Yep. But the opportunity is here to make a difference. I had one of my clients go out and on Facebook just said, hey, we're collecting food for the less fortunate. She shot a video. 5 hours later, her office was stacked from floor to ceiling with cases of food. Now she's taking all that food and donating it to the local food pantry. I mean, these food pantries, where are people going to go get food? We need those that are fortunate, to be able to give of themselves to the less fortunate. And that's why we're put on here on earth, is to help each other. So let's be cognizant of that, but because we have a huge opportunity here right now to make a difference in our marketplace.
Yep. Okay, I love that. I think that's exactly it. If you're listening right now and you have a team of any sort, a real estate team, we put together the Survive the Crash with your real estate. It's very actionable things that you can do. Realize this right now, how you generated business 2 weeks ago is not going to be the same going forward for the next 4 months or so, 3 to 4 months. You know, the number of opportunities out there is going to be reduced, and how you generate them has to change. The good news is we're small. We can make that change quick. So I wanted to give you guys a quick guide for that. Again, in the notes, it's there. We've got another one too. I love this one. As a listing agent, we put together a blog. We call it the 12 Ds. It's every kind of alternative listing that you can possibly get. So if you're a real estate person, you know, you talk about death, you're going to talk about divorce, you're talking about, you know, drug houses, you're talking about foreclosures, REOs, short sales. There's a lot of business out there, and now is the time to prepare. You know, get your listing, you know, presentation ready, make sure that you've got everything you need in order to go after that kind of business. I mean, probate's going to be big. You know, so do you have a program for, you know, attorneys and for folks that process probate? So the market is changing, and this is another guide. And so we've got not only the link to the 12 Ds, we're going to be starting, which is our example of alternative listing stuff. We're going to start developing that particular blog out more and more with more actionable steps. Like, here's where you get the list. Here's what you need to send to them. Here's the follow-up process. We're going to start developing those out in the next 30 days for you guys, but this is the beginning of it. Survive a crash. Anything you want to add, Bob, on these?
Yeah, as a listing agent, this is an opportune time for you to start looking at how you did your business. You know, just as we're doing this webinar here on Zoom, you know, and all Daniel did was share his screen with everybody. I'm strongly recommending that you go to Zoom.com. It's a free download. You can use Zoom for free. They have paid versions of it, so just know what you're getting. But I would strongly recommend, do you have like a listing presentation that you can do on Zoom? Because you know, I have many clients, especially in resort areas where I have clients, okay, that constantly are doing their listing presentation on Zoom. And because technology's out there, like products like DocuSign, I can do my listing presentation, and while I have them on the screen, I can send the listing agreement via DocuSign. I can open the DocuSign listing agreement right up on my screen and walk the people through it. So this is also a great time while you are at home to get Zoom and practice doing your listing or buyer presentation here on Zoom. I can still get listings signed up. They may not go active for a bit, but you know, you're still working. So do whatever you can from it, using technology that is available to us to keep your business going. Because this crisis right now is going to change a lot of people, the way they look at how they did their business. But embrace the technology. We're fortunate we have all this. Gosh, when I got started 30 years ago, the MLSs were still in hard books. Yeah. Okay, I'm sure there's some people who've been in the business while they're laughing and remembering that one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I love it. Hey, okay, so this is the part of the call where we want to hear from you guys. We have about 150 people registered watching live on Facebook and on Zoom. So in the chat or in the question and answer, we're monitoring it. Please get us your questions, because this is that part of the time. Bob, I've got a couple, like what's the fat in the business right now that I need to start thinking about cutting versus what's the muscle that needs to stay during this kind of uncertain times?
I think we do need to look at where we are spending money, because it is uncertain times. The one thing I don't want to cut down are the number of people that are calling my customers, okay? So if you're using ISA Virtual Professionals, okay, please get them the scripts from today's webinar, okay? And remember, it's all about showing care and concern. The more that you can get you and your team making phone calls to your customers, to your clients, you will recoup that a lot as this passes. So we want to actually double down. I just say, you know, we can do a Zoom fest here. Okay, I'm calling. You get your whole team together. Come on Zoom. You can see each other, talk to each other, role play with each other, but do a 2 or 3 hour call session. Everybody's at home. And what you're going to find, especially next week, people have been at home. They're adjusting this week, a lot of people right now, on how to work effectively from home. Next week, people are going to be desperate to talk to other human beings.
Yeah.
So that's why reaching out to them is going to be really, really important as a team. So you want everybody, on your team, if your market is slow, if you have low listing inventory or low pendings, get your operations people calling past clients, just checking in. I mean, you want to massively, all hands on deck to calling our clients, all hands on deck.
You know what's funny is when you were saying that, people are going to want to talk. I was thinking about my family and my wife's situation. Like, we're in the local guide, I put the top 5 places for you to get video content, like educational content for kids. The top 5 places where you can click, pick through a video library and kids can interact with others on Zoom. My family, we're calling it like the School of Ramsey right now, and they're in there learning. They're in there, every day doing 2 or 3 Zooms where they're interacting with other kids and a teacher, and they're learning. So that's part of the things that are in this local guide. And I think the fact is we're all going to be wanting human entertainment and connection over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, but you really do got to look at what are you spending right now that you really don't need. Because first and foremost, you want to make sure that lead gen has almost come to a screeching halt. Okay, a lot of companies out there like Zillow, is doing their part by reducing fees for prime users. Okay, but trim whatever fat you can because you want to make sure you have the money to pay your people. That's what's grossly important.
Okay, so Lisa asked a question, and it's a really important one, and so I'm just going to share my screen and do this right here on the call. So Zoom is a great platform. Bob and I are on it right now. Internally, we use something called Ring Central, and it's crazy. I'm just going to share my screen right now and show you guys. So Ring Central, you can schedule a call. You can start a video call just by clicking on this particular thing. And then I'm going to launch our GLIP. You guys can kind of see what GLIP looks like and how to use that. Hold on, you guys. This is crazy. Was not part of the presentation, but I want to make sure that, Lisa, you get your questions answered, and that you guys see how to use these technologies, because it's a big deal. Here's our inner office tech. Now, Lisa, literally you can launch a video just by going to this button right here. And you can see our internal team, is they're sending GLIPs, they're doing happy faces. We are all, like Paul says, are you guys staying sane? Paul Vasquez, been with us 8 years. One of the best consultants we have when you're considering like doing a virtual changeover. And so here they are, like, and then somebody says, is that you, Daniel? Is that me? I'm like, yes, that's me right now. We're pounding out content. But literally, if I just click here, everybody in our entire internal team that's here in the US goes on video. Down here, our sales team, you guys want to see, this is how we're staying. So we have 4 appointments today. By the way, the sky is not falling. The world is we are still closing deals, and you can too if you set yourself up for this stuff. So I hope that is helpful. I hope that's kind of shows you the path. Get into Zoom, get into Ring Central, which is my favorite for internal teams. You can have a messaging platform, a text platform, a phone. If your area is not in lockdown, guess what? It will be, and you need to convert right now.
Well, and let me touch on what Lisa's asking. You run a Zoom meeting no different than a face-to-face meeting, because you are face-to-face with them. And this is why I love Zoom versus being on the telephone. Because on Zoom, what's most important for people is, if you're doing a Zoom call, let's say, I know you're an early bird, so if you're doing a sales huddle at 8 a.m., you want to make sure people are still all dressed for that meeting, just like they were if they were face-to-face. Nothing should change. And you conduct the huddle on Zoom, you're going to be able to see everybody's faces just like this, Lisa. On this type of setting, we're not seeing 300-400 people that are on this call with us today, Lisa. But you'll be able to see your entire team. Just like when we do our coaching call, you and I, Lisa, we're on Zoom, and I can bring other people into that Zoom call as well. So it's a very powerful tool for you. Stay in touch. Go ahead, Daniel.
No, Stephanie asked a question. All right, so technology-wise, our local guide that we're giving away, our ISA scripts, our working remote, those guides are not web-based, meaning we put them on our website, and if you click on them, it automatically downloads them into a Word document immediately. So normally when I'm doing these things and I'm giving away content, I'm trying to grab your information, I'm trying to make you subscribe, I'm trying to put you on my website, I'm trying to keep you into our sphere. But because of this, I'm giving you a Word document. Yeah, I know, your tri-hat. Once again, it's a Word document that will drop directly onto your browser. So when you click on it, just look for the document, and it's editable and it's customizable, so you can put your brand on it.
You know, Daniel, something I'd recommend, because you have shared so many documents in this chat, and I don't know if everybody is getting it all, but right before we end, if I'm everybody, I'm going to go into that chat box, I'm going to do Control-A, and I'm going to copy it all to a Word doc, because once we log off, folks, you're going to have to go and rewatch it to get it all again.
Well, we're live on Facebook. We're on our main Facebook page. You'll see those same comments and
okay.
the same link. So
yeah, but I don't want them to wait to get that, because I want them, when we hang up, to get all these, to download them and focus on the local guide first. Get that to your virtual professional if you have one, to start putting it together for you, get it back to you so you can bless it to get it out to your clients. Then work on the second document you should really be working on is the how to work effectively, our shelter in place document. Those are the top two documents so far that I think are the highest priority.
Yep, and I love that. We're gonna end in just a hot second, but I wanted to give you guys also the book. I want to make sure you guys have a copy of this book. So it's right there. You guys can, if you want a copy of it, you can text SVP, so Scale with Virtual Professionals, to 31996. Wildly enough, this book had, 3 or 4% of the country was working virtually before this book came out. Now half. So all of the strategies that we use are in this book. And if you wanted a copy, you can get one for free. I want you to get that. If you guys have any other questions, all you have to do is reach out to MyOutDesk. You can jump on our website. You can request. If you want help, Lisa, if you want help setting this up, I am your guy. I want you to call me. I will personally make sure you have exactly the kind of support you need in order to actually move your entire business virtual, because that's what's needed right now. And we are always here for you. Bob, I want to make sure that you also have a moment to tell people who you are and how to get a hold of you.
Well, I appreciate that, Daniel. I've been coaching in the real estate, mortgage, title industries for over 30 years. I've seen a lot of crises. Again, nothing quite like this. When I look at it, and I look at every crisis that I've helped coach our clients through, we always came out stronger, because we always say, what did we learn? What do we need to change? If anybody would want any information, please, you can email me. My email is bob@bobcorcoran.com, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Happy to talk you off the ledge. I could be a great therapist as well if needed. But please, and that's what I've been doing, a lot of it, because clients are not used to this, Daniel. Yep. Okay, you can visit my website, bobcorcoran.com, kind of get a gist if you don't know who we are or what we've been doing. But this is why I built my coaching company, was help clients through situations exactly like this. And my coaching business always thrives in a crisis, because people look at how my clients came through and they go, how'd you do it? By keeping them focused on what really matters. That's why I said, you matter, your family matters, your team matters, your clients matter. That's what matters most, and that's got to be your heart. Be transparent as a leader.
Yep, I love it. Okay, thank you guys for your time. Bob is not related to the Shark Tank gal. And that's a great question.
Well, people, my wife's name is Brenda. And years ago, we would go to these events, right? And people would go, oh, Barbara, I saw you on the Today Show. And she'd say, I'm Brenda. And they say, don't lie to me. One lady said, here, will you sign my book? Brenda couldn't convince her she wasn't Barbara. So she just signed the book, B. Corcoran.
There you go. Okay, guys. Again, MyOutDesk Virtual Professionals. Jump on our website, grab the book, download these guys, and reach out if you need any support. Bob, thanks for being here today.
Appreciate it. My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Everybody, be safe out there. Love on your family. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.